Greetings, Wildcats. Wouldn't the Wildcats' current coach be Cal or Pitino? Wouldn't they be considered among the best? Pope wasn't, and that's strange, to say the least. Let's get this straight. Mark Pope's journey as head coach of Kentucky basketball has been marked by a mix of skepticism, admiration, and the expectation of proving his worth at one of college basketball's most established programs. When he was announced as the successor to John Calipari, a name that needs no introduction in the high school basketball scene, many fans and experts wondered, does Pope truly belong in the same league as other industry giants, like Rick Pitino or Calipari himself? Pope's recent absence from a list published by CBS Sports, which surveyed 100 college coaches to identify the sport's best tactical minds, raises important questions about how he is perceived by his peers and how far he needs to go to be recognized as one of the greats. There's no doubt that Pope inherited a challenging situation in Lexington. After Calipari's departure for Arkansas, the program was in a period of transition, needing not only to reassert its relevance, but also to adapt to the changing recruiting landscape and dynamics of modern basketball. His arrival, while initially met with surprise and even some skepticism, quickly turned to enthusiasm as fans began to understand his innovative philosophy and engaging offensive style. During his time at BYU, Pope had already demonstrated his ability to build competitive and exciting teams with a fluid and creative offense that maximized the available talent. However, despite these credentials, it seems his peers still hesitate to place him among the sport's strategic elite. The central question here is, why isn't Pope still mentioned alongside names like Calipari or Pitino when it comes to tactics and knowledge of the X's and O's? Part of the answer may be related to his youth and lack of a consistent track record in high-level programs. While veteran coaches accumulate decades of reputation and achievements, Pope is still building his legacy. Furthermore, there's a natural resistance to new things, especially in an environment as competitive as college basketball. His peers may underestimate him simply because they haven't seen enough of his magic in action on a stage as grand as Kentucky. However, this lack of recognition doesn't go unnoticed by BBN fans, who see it as a possible reflection of prejudice or even disrespect. It's hard to imagine that Calipari, even though not known as an elite tactical strategist, would be overlooked in similar discussions, given his reputation as the greatest recruiter in the history of sport. Similarly, Rick Pitino, with his multiple titles and iconic defensive systems, consistently topped these lists during his glory years. So why doesn't Pope, whose offensive system has been praised by pundits and opponents alike, get the same credit? This perceived lack of respect may be frustrating for Kentucky fans, but it also fuels the Pope narrative. He's not just trying to prove himself to critics. He's building something that transcends numbers and rankings. His focus on creating a culture of hard work, discipline, and connection to the program's tradition is exactly the kind of solid foundation that can take the Wildcats back to the top. And while some may doubt his tactical abilities, no one can deny the impact he's already had on players, like last year for the Wildcats. What makes the situation even more intriguing is that Pope doesn't need to be seen as a tactical genius to succeed at Kentucky. Modern college basketball is so dominated by recruiting and talent development that a coach's role often goes beyond calling plays. It's about inspiring, motivating, and maximizing the potential of young athletes who are constantly pursuing their professional dreams. In this regard, Pope has already shown he has a unique understanding of how to lead a team in the 21st century. The upcoming season will be crucial to cementing his place among college basketball stars. With a promising roster and a passionate fan base, Pope has the opportunity to silence his critics and show that he's not only a capable coach, but a visionary who can lead Kentucky back to the final round of the NCAA tournament. Let's bet on Pope BBN. Kentucky football enters a decisive moment of the season with the air of a monumental challenge. After a 35-13 loss to South Carolina in Columbia, the Wildcats face a tough SEC test, a trip to Sanford Stadium against the Georgia Bulldogs. Despite the difficult record, 2-2 overall and 0-2 in the conference, there are elements that indicate that the program led by Mark Stoops still has the capacity to surprise, even against a traditionally dominant opponent. The season so far has been marked by ups and downs, but the signs of potential are clear. Freshman quarterback Cutter Boley, who temporarily took over for veteran Zach Calzada, has shown flashes of talent that could be decisive. Although turnovers proved costly against the Gamecocks, Boley's statistics still offer hope. 23 completions on 43 attempts for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns in just 3 games suggest that, with adjustments and confidence, he could become the difference maker the Wildcats need. Facing Georgia in Athens is no easy task. Kentucky's last win in the city dates back to 2009, but recent history shows that close games are possible. In recent years, the Wildcats have come close to upsetting the odds, such as in 2024, when they lost by just 1 point in Lexington, or in 2022, in a 16-6 loss. These matches demonstrate that, even against widely favored favorites, Kentucky can impose challenges and exploit opportunities. Georgia, which comes into the matchup with a recent loss to Alabama, is also facing a transition at quarterback, with Gunnar Stockton taking over after Carson Beck's departure. Despite Stockton's consistency, the Bulldogs are not immune to setbacks, which opens a strategic window for Kentucky. The Wildcats can benefit from tactical adjustments, game rhythm, and renewed motivation after a week of analysis and preparation. Furthermore, Kentucky's squad boasts talent in other areas, especially defense and the running game, areas that can be exploited to control the tempo and keep the game competitive. Mark Stoops, with his experience and track record of exceeding expectations, has the opportunity to turn challenges into opportunities. The matchup against Georgia will be more than a test of individual skill. It will be a test of resilience, strategy, and the ability to execute a plan under pressure. While bookmakers place Kentucky as a major underdog, the history of the sport shows that upsets are always possible. With a focus on adjustments, capitalizing on opportunities, and the emerging potential of players like Boley, the Wildcats have the tools to compete on equal terms and, who knows, reverse a historic stalemate. Kickoff at Sanford Stadium isn't just another game. It is a chance to reaffirm the competitiveness of a program that, under Stoops' leadership, continues to seek evolution and significant results in the SEC. Cutter Boley, the young quarterback now leading the Wildcats with Mark Stoops' help, is on a journey that isn't uncommon in the competitive world of the SEC, but one that carries with it unique challenges. The most cutthroat league in American college football doesn't forgive mistakes, especially from freshmen thrust onto the big stage before their voices have even matured. However, as Stoops rightly remembers, this is precisely the school where great quarterbacks are molded. The scenario of the loss against South Carolina was cruel for Boley. A promising start, marked by an early 10-7 lead, quickly succumbed to fatal turnovers and relentless pressure from the opposing defense. 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 6 sacks turned that game into a statistical nightmare. However, Stoops' tone after the game was surprisingly optimistic, almost like a teacher recognizing his students' potential even amid failing grades. "He's not fragile," the coach said, highlighting Boley's resilience. This attitude not only reflects confidence in the player, but also the constructive philosophy that has guided the program over the years: patience and development. It's important to note that Boley didn't arrive at Kentucky by chance. He comes from a line of athletes, growing up in a family environment that has experienced the ups and downs of college sports. This background, combined with his own determination, makes him an ideal candidate to overcome these initial setbacks. Stoops knows this and, rather than rushing the process, is focused on creating the ideal conditions for the young quarterback to flourish. After all, if even icons like Peyton Manning struggled in their early days, why should Boley be any different? The astute and experienced coach understands that the beauty of development lies precisely in overcoming these obstacles. But make no mistake, the current situation is not comfortable. The Wildcats face a brutal stretch of games, including matchups against top 15 teams and the always tough Louisville to close the season. The next challenge will be especially arduous, with Georgia's aggressive defense waiting to test Boley's mettle and precision again at Sanford Stadium. It's an intimidating scenario for any player, let alone a freshman. However, Stoops sees it as an essential part of learning. Let's be honest, there are a lot of great quarterbacks who started in the SEC, and early on, they're going to make some mistakes, he said, acknowledging the reality of the conference. His message is clear. Momentary failure doesn't define the future. The ability to learn and grow does. Boley showed promising signs, even amidst adversity. Against South Carolina, his procedural discipline and communication with teammates stood out. We worked really hard on the crowd noise, the operation, the entries and exits. Everything was very clean, Stoops observed. These technical details may seem small, but they are crucial for a quarterback still learning to navigate the complexities of the higher level. Every snap is a lesson, every turnover an opportunity for adjustment, and every win or loss contributes to the development of a leader. Still, the path forward requires more than individual talent. Stoops acknowledged that the team needs to improve collectively to support its quarterback. Offensive protection issues, deflected passes, and poor decisions cannot be blamed solely on Boley. The coach emphasized that it's not always up to him, and that responsibility must be shared by the roster and coaching staff. This kind of leadership, one that takes blame without pointing fingers, is crucial to maintaining high morale in a group struggling to find its identity. The truth is that developing a quarterback in the SEC is a delicate and sometimes painful process, but it is also an inevitable process. Arch Manning, another big name in college football, has already experienced harsh criticism in his brief career. And in the case of Peyton Manning, his early struggles in the NFL didn't prevent him from becoming a legend. Stoops, while cautious about making direct comparisons, seems to have this mindset in mind when working with Boley. He knows the kid has the potential to grow, provided he is given the right tools and the necessary time. Boley's biggest test so far will be against Georgia, a team hungry for redemption after a bitter loss to Alabama. The hostile environment of Sanford Stadium will be a true laboratory for evaluating the young quarterback's progress. It will be a decisive moment to see how he has absorbed the lessons of the previous weeks and how he reacts under extreme pressure. Comment.